Chapter 21. The End of the Story.
No matter how much Ming-Tu resisted, he could not defy the will of the higher-ups. His father was killed, and his master chef was also killed by the emperor's brush. There was no one who could help him. Those who had been bullied by Ming-Tu before couldn't help but want revenge. If Zhou Tianyu hadn't been so powerful and had a celestial artifact in hand, it wouldn't have been his turn. Ming-Tu was dragged out crying and screaming, and along with the entire Ming family, all those related by blood were arrested. 180 people from one family were abandoned in the square of the Heavenly Tao sect. Countless people cried out, begged for mercy, despaired, and harbored resentment. The elders, disciples, and supreme elders of the Heavenly Tao sect remained unmoved, their faces cold, and they didn't utter a single word. Upon seeing this, Ming-Tu's heart sank completely. My father was the head of the Heavenly Tao sect. Even if he didn't make any great contributions to the sect, he was conscientious, diligent, and self-disciplined, and he made a lot of sacrifices. Ming-Tu looked around with grief and indignation, knelt on the ground, and tears streamed down his face. He truly regretted it. I don't ask anyone to save me, I only ask that the sect can give my Ming family a descendant, so that we can have a lineage.
Ming-Tu cried.
Inside the Heavenly Tao sect, all was silent. No one dared to speak before the emperor's brush. What you're saying won't change what happened today, Zhou Tianyu sneered. He wasn't in a hurry to kill Ming-Tu, he wanted to torture him properly. I didn't want to change today's outcome. I knew I was going to die. In the past, I relied on the authority and power of my father and master to act arrogantly and do countless heinous things.
Y deserved odie.
Ming-Tu smiled bitterly and spoke his words of regret. This truly shows that a dying man's words are always kind. Zhou Tianyu couldn't help but sneer. Ming-Tu, who was absurd, domineering, and arrogant your whole life, who would have thought that you would say such things at the last moment of your life? If you had known this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. If you had realized this earlier, my family wouldn't have died. Zhou Tianyu's eyes were like knives, as if he wanted to tear Ming-Tu to pieces. Ming-Tu pleaded with a bitter laugh. I know I am doomed and deserve to die. My followers also brought this upon themselves, but my family is innocent. Please spare them. Zhou Tianyu grabbed Ming-Tu, lifted him up violently, and roared, Your family is innocent, but my family is guilty? You harbored evil intentions towards my fiancée simply because she is beautiful. My father refused to annul the engagement, so you resorted to murder. All 149 members of my Manchu ethnic group died at your hands. You're asking me to spare your family now, and you say they're innocent? I'm telling you, even if the Heavenly King himself came today, you, Ming-Tu, and your entire family would die. Zhou Tianyu grabbed Ming-Tu and roared, his voice echoing among the mountains. The Heavenly Tao sect, with its hundreds of thousands of disciples, elders, and deacons, remained silent. They can't interfere in this feud. Of course, if this gets out, it will be a stain on the Heavenly Tao sect, and if possible, the Heavenly Tao sect would naturally not want this matter to spread. They don't even want this to happen. Even if they were to execute Ming-Tu themselves, they would rather not have someone come knocking on their door, forcing them to hand him over and let the other side kill him. However, there was nothing they could do. A celestial artifact that had broken the immortal seal had blocked all their attempts to resist. Without a sage, it is impossible to resist a celestial artifact that breaks the celestial seal. Therefore, silence is the only option. After Zhou Tianyu roared, he raised his hand, and the emperor's brush moved. Crush them to dust. Zhou Tianyu roared, making no attempt to conceal his murderous intent. At this moment, anyone who dares to stop him will face a fight to the death. The supreme elder of the Heavenly Tao sect inexplicably took a few steps back, his attitude very clear.
Ignore this matter.
Tian Guangming also turned around, his face cold. He had a deep-seated grudge against Ming-Tu's father. Everything is transparent now. Everyone in the Heavenly Tao sect knows it, so there's no way they can intervene to save us. Boom. The emperor's brush moved, and with a seemingly casual gesture, a terrifying aura erupted, spreading like thunderclouds.
Ban 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 ban.
The members of the Ming family were instantly turned into corpses, killed by this aura. Even Mingtu's father, with his Saint Lord-level combat power, couldn't defeat the Heavenly Emperor's brush that had broken the immortal restriction. How could these ordinary family members be a match for the Heavenly Emperor's brush? Right under Mingtu's nose, one by one, the members of the Ming family died out. Mingtu's eyes were bloodshot with rage, his teeth were clenched in hatred, and he almost bit off his steel teeth. He coughed up blood in grief and indignation, but he couldn't change the situation. Zhou Tianyu threw down Mingtu and said coldly, "I want you to experience the pain and suffering I went through before, and watch your family members die one by one." Mingtu coughed up blood in grief, collapsed to the ground, and looked at the sky in despair. He no longer had the energy to argue anything. Mingtu's final choice was to shatter his own heart meridians and end his own life.
Father, Mother, y Mingtu, am un filial.
I have lived a muddled life, harming myself and you. I have come to find you now.
Don't rush on your way to the Yellow Springs. What for Mingtu?
Mingtu stared blankly at the blue sky, his breath fading away. Zhou Tianyu stared angrily at Mingtu, never expecting him to commit suicide. Consider yourself lucky you didn't die a painful death, otherwise I would have definitely tortured you, Zhou Tianyu cursed, but after he finished, he felt a deep emptiness in his heart. He avenged his family's deepest grudge. He sold his own talent. Zhou Tianyu had no idea what path he should take in the future. Perhaps leaving this world to find my parents and Xiao Ai is where I belong. Xiao Ai is the nickname of Zhou Tianyu's childhood sweetheart. Zhou Tianyu left, and this incident caused quite a stir throughout the entire Xiandao sect. The Supreme Elder emerged from seclusion to rectify the atmosphere of the Heavenly Dao sect, killing all the spoiled brats. He was ruthless, and no one could stop him. Of course, that's a story for another time. Bai Ditian Guangming refused to inherit the position of the Heavenly Dao sect leader. He may have had a great desire for the position before, but after these events, he suddenly realized that he had no interest in being the Heavenly Dao sect leader at all. Baidi also left. He did not return to Baidi City, but left it to someone else and disappeared. Zhou Tianyu also disappeared, taking the celestial artifact, the Heavenly Emperor's brush, with him, vanishing from people's sight.
Inside de Aven Bank, Xiandao book.
During the time it took to change his talent, Xiandao was constantly adapting, and he felt as if he had traversed endless years. He has walked through the past, the present, and the future, through countless years. Xiandao opened his eyes and saw that it was still the Heaven and Earth Bank, and the beautiful and charming Xiao Qi. At this moment, he was completely transformed, no longer the ordinary mortal he once was. Xiandao perfectly matched the prophet's talent and fully activated it, becoming a person with foresight. During this period, Xiao Qi played a crucial role. Xiandao stood up, and his entire demeanor changed drastically. The once mediocre Xiandao now had an unfathomable aura, and he looked much more handsome. Standing there, his aloof and cold demeanor suited the owner of the Heaven and Earth Money House. Now he is qualified to become the new owner of Tiandi Money Shop.
Chapter 22 Trading Souls.
Inside the Heaven and Earth Bank, Xiandao changed into a dark black robe and sat in a chair. He looked completely transformed, his demeanor changed dramatically, and the dark black robe he wore made him appear particularly imposing. Xiaoqi also styled Xiandao's hair, cutting his previously dry long hair short, making him look especially handsome. Xiaoqi said with satisfaction, "This is more like the master of our Heaven and Earth Bank. He's handsome, powerful, and has a strong aura." "Were there any previous owners like me?" Xiandao asked. No, the previous owners weren't very good to Xiaoqi. After they acquired the Heaven and Earth Bank, they treated Xiaoqi like their own property, always ordering her around without ever asking if she was willing. "I don't like them much." Xiaoqi shook her head. Although she is a spirit, she still has her own independent personality and is a complete person. She just cannot leave the heaven and earth bank. Don't they ask for your opinion? Li Xiandao asked in surprise. This Xiao Qi knows everything about astronomy and geography, and is 100% loyal to the owner of the heaven and earth bank. Why don't they ask for your opinion? No, those people are all locals from the 9 heavens and 10 earths. They are very old-fashioned. After obtaining the heaven and earth bank, they acted according to their own ideas. Some were arrogant and domineering, some were lawless, some were poorly managed, and some were extravagant. Xiao Qi's words were full of helplessness. Li Xiandao seemed to be deep in thought.
Master, if I may be so bold, among the 9 masters, although you have the lowest cultivation level and no combat power, and the heaven and earth bank is currently in the worst condition, you are the best master, and you listen to advice, Xiao Qi said with emotion.
The previous owners were all headstrong and ruined a great situation. They brought it upon themselves. Otherwise, with the support of the heaven and earth bank, how could it have fallen so easily? Li Xiandao laughed and said, so I also want to thank the previous masters. If it weren't for their willful insistence, I wouldn't have become the master of the heaven and earth bank, let alone met the beautiful Xiao Qi.
Xiao's beautiful eyes sparkled.
As a woman, she naturally enjoyed receiving praise, especially from the owner of Tiandi Money Shop. Master, I'm shy. Xiao Qi turned around, covered her cheeks, and looked like a shy young girl. Li Xiandao smiled gently. Xiao Qi and he were quite a good match. After the banter, Li Xiandao said calmly, now that I have fused with the prophet's talent and activated the omniscient and omnipotent attribute, what cultivation techniques are available for me to practice? Xiao Qi shook his head and said, the universal library of the heaven and earth bank has been sealed off. There are no secret manuals left, and I can't take them out either, unless the master lifts the seal on the universal library. How many books are in the universal library? Li Xiandao asked. There are so many. Throughout history, only the national collections of imperial dynasties have been qualified to enter the World Library. 10,000 imperial dynasty-level national collections are here. Master, can you think about how many books that is? Xiao Qi said seriously. Are all the books in the Universal Library still there? Li Xiandao asked in surprise. Some are still here, but quite a few have been lent out. They are all very rare cultivation techniques, each one capable of being cultivated to the peak. We will need the master to retrieve them in the future, Xiao Qi said, shaking his head. Li Xiandao nodded thoughtfully. Naturally, he would take back all the things that belong to him. What price is required to unseal the World Library? Li Xiandao asked. A divine vein. Xiao Qi said. Divine veins. Li Xiandao frowned. He had never heard of such a thing. Divine veins are extremely rare. Divine sources are born from divine veins. A single divine vein can yield at least 5 million divine sources. So, Master, keep up the good work and bring back a divine vein to redeem the library of all nations.
Xiao raised her fist, giving Li Xiandao a pep talk.
She was like a delicate porcelain doll, breathtakingly beautiful. Li Xiandao smiled and said, all right, I'll try my best, but I still need to deal with Zhou Tianyu's matter now.
In Li Xiandao's perception.
Zhou Tianyu has already contacted me through the Emperor's pen. The Emperor's brush unleashed its power, the heavenly Dao sect backed down, and Zhou Tianyu sought revenge. Li Xiandao already knew about these events, since the Emperor's brush was his, and he could receive information about everything that happened at any time. Now that Zhou Tianyu has taken his revenge and contacted him, Li Xiandao took out a dark gold mask, put it on, and with a wave of his sleeve, Zhou Tianyu appeared out of thin air inside the heaven and earth bank.
Have you taken your revenge?
Li Xiandao asked calmly. At this moment, Zhou Tianyu's face was blank and his expression was somewhat dazed. Only after hearing Li Xiandao's question did he nod and say, my great revenge has been achieved, and I will return the Emperor's brush. Li Xiandao casually gestured, and the Emperor's brush flew out automatically and then disappeared. Li Xiandao looked at the dull-witted Zhou Tianyu. He had lost his talent and his spiritual energy was gone, but he shouldn't be dull-witted.
Having avenged your great grey, do you feel empty inside?
Li Xiandao asked. Zhou Tianyu smiled bitterly and said, "Yes, I have lost everything, and now I don't know how to live in this world." His parents were murdered, his younger siblings were brutally killed, his fiancée was raped, and his entire clan was slaughtered. The deep-seated hatred that bound Zhou Tianyu to life allowed him to persevere in his pursuit of revenge. But now he has avenged his great grudge. He killed Ming Tu's entire family, including the high and mighty leader of the heavenly Dao sect. He suddenly lost his goal. In his quest for revenge, he sold his talent, and now, even if he tries to cultivate, he will never make any progress in his life, stuck at the Dao inquiry realm. Life. The world is vast, the sea is boundless, and within the 4 seas, he has no relatives or friends, and no one to care about. Zhou Tianyu had suicidal thoughts. Li Xiandao saw through Zhou Tianyu, a smirk playing on his lips. He put his hands behind his back, approached Zhou Tianyu, and said, "Would you like to make another deal with me?" Looking at the dark gold mask and those eyes that could see into people's hearts, Zhou Tianyu felt his will to die fade for some reason.
He opened and closed his mouth, then opened it again and closed it again, repeating this several times, before whispering, "I have nothing left to trade with you."
He has already traded away his greatest talent, and now Zhou Tianyu believes he has nothing left to trade. Li Xiandao shook his head and said mysteriously, "This time we won't trade anything else, we'll trade your soul."
Soul.
Zhou Tianyu looked at Li Xiandao in surprise. His soul. Although it was the first time Zhou Tianyu had heard of trading souls, he thought it was similar to the most brutal soul-enslaving cultivators in the demonic path. For some reason, Zhou Tianyu showed no resistance or aversion.
When you are humble to the core, when you are in the Maya, when you have nothing, if someone extends a helping hand to you, whether that person is a demon or a Buddha, they are a new dawn in your life.
Li Xiandao is now Zhou Tianyu's ray of hope.
Zhou Tianyu nodded without hesitation and said, "I'll trade my soul. I'll trade anything, no matter what it is."
Zhou Tianyu said firmly.
Chapter 23 Primal Godhood.
Li Xiandao wanted to take Zhou Tianyu's soul for no other reason than to build his own power. Just as Shao Qi said, at its peak, the Heaven and Earth Bank had 100,000 messengers spread throughout the 9 heavens, 10 earths, and the immortal realm. But those were all built by previous owners and do not belong to Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao inherited an empty Heaven and Earth Bank. Li Xiandao could continue trading and developing through his own cultivation, but that would be far too slow. Therefore, Li Xiandao wanted to recruit subordinates and build his own power. Zhou Tianyu is a very suitable candidate. With his entire family dead and his blood feud avenged, Zhou Tianyu lost all purpose. If Li Xiandao didn't help him, Zhou Tianyu's death would be imminent. If you lend Zhou Tianyu a hand now, he will definitely be grateful to Li Xiandao and be 100% loyal. "Master, Zhou Tianyu has no talent, he'll always only have this much strength," Shao Qi reminded Li Xian. Li Xiandao laughed and said, "Of course I know. Then why did you still accept him?" Shao Qi raised an eyebrow, not understanding Li Xiandao's intention. Li Xiandao slowly said, "I just awakened my omniscient and omnipotent talent, so I checked the Heaven and Earth Bank from the inside out and found a few things." Shao Qi remembered and said, "Those were left over from the last era. Even I don't really know how to use them." "It's all right, I'll know after one look," Li Xiandao said confidently. The talent of being omniscient and omnipotent is just that powerful. Back when he was fusing his talents, Li Xiandao had already immersed himself in the river of time, seeing and remembering a great deal about the future, the past, and the present. Shao Qi might not know how those things were used in the Heaven and Earth Bank, but Li Xiandao had seen it clearly in the past. Once these things find the right person, their power is simply unimaginable. Zhou Tianyu is the best host for one of these things. "Go prepare the contract," Li Xiandao said to Shao Qi. "Okay." Shao Qi nodded obediently. With a flick of his sleeve, Li Xiandao changed the scene, moving from the resting area to the main hall. He sat in the boss's chair, looking at Zhou Tianyu opposite him. I'll buy your soul, and in return, I'll give you something.
Li Xiandao said slowly.
Zhou Qianyu asked. What is it?
Primordial godhood.
Li Xiandao said calmly. What is this? Zhou Qianyu asked in surprise, as he had never heard of it before. Li Xiandao explained. You can think of it as the complete cultivation and inheritance of a senior. Once the fusion is successful, you will gradually inherit all of his cultivation. Even if you lose your talent, you can still improve and work for me.
Zhou Tianyu's eyes lit up.
He wasn't excited about the possibility of continuing to improve, but rather about the opportunity to do something for Li Xiandao. Working for the mysterious and powerful owner of Tiandi Qianzhuang, Zhou Tianyu instantly found his future life goal. No problem, I'll sign. Zhou Tianyu agreed without hesitation. Li Xiandao reminded Zhou Tianyu. The fusion of the primordial godhood is very painful and agonizing.
If you can't hold on, you will die.
Even if you do hold on, but your consciousness is not clear and you are confused by the main consciousness of the primordial godhood, then it will replace you, become you, and live in this world. Zhou Tianyu smiled confidently and said, I don't know why you value me so much, but since you've asked me to give it a try, I'll do my best and I definitely won't let anyone take advantage of me. Li Xiandao nodded in satisfaction. As expected of someone who could produce a profit, even without that talent, he was still no ordinary person.
Master, the contract. Xiao handed Li Xiandao a contract.
Li Xiandao handed it to Zhou Tianyu and said, Sign it. Zhou Tianyu did not hesitate. He signed his name without even glancing at the contents of the contract. Li Xiandao was very satisfied. Since you trust me completely and are loyal to me, I will never let you suffer any losses.
Da.
Li Xiandao stood up, walked behind Zhou Tianyu, and said softly, Close your eyes.
I'm taking your soul now.
From this moment on, your soul is in my hands.
If you ever dare to betray me, I crossed your soul, and you die.
Zhou Tianyu didn't speak, but simply closed his eyes. He would never betray the benefactor who had pulled him out of his darkest hour. Li Xiandao reached out and brushed his hand across Zhou Tianyu's forehead, quickly pulling out a wisp of soul as pure and blazing as the sun. Upon seeing it, Shao Qi exclaimed in surprise, Such a high-quality soul! I've seen countless souls, and even some immortal souls can't compare to this pure and bright one. The deeper one's thoughts, the more ideas one has, and the more ruthless one's scheming, the darker one's soul will become. Li Xiandao placed the soul into a jade bottle and asked Shao Qi to put it away, saying, This is also why I value him. He has the best physical body and is the best candidate to bear the original divine essence. We have 4 primal godheads. Which one does Master intend to give to him? Shao Qi asked. Li Xiandao thought for a moment, then reached out and summoned a pure white, stone-like primordial divine essence. This primordial divine core is no bigger than the palm of your hand, but its core is the most important secret of the gods of the previous era.
The gods in campes alrasis, but the nobles are the angels.
In the last era, the archangels roamed the heavens and earth, enforcing the law and judging all, and were invincible. However, due to the war of the era, the gods also declined in the long river of history. To this day, the divine race can no longer be seen in the heavens and the earth. Only the heaven and earth bank left behind 4 original divine cores, which can revive the glory of the gods. These 4 primordial deities are
Archangel Gabriel, Battle Angel Michael, Lucifer, the Fallen Angel, Ursula the Moon Angel.
Shao Qi said worriedly. The reason why these 4 original divine cores have been left untouched for so long is because the times are different, the eras are different, and the genes of the gods are different from ours now. No one can perfectly inherit the original divine cores of the gods.
Li Xiandao fell silent.
The previous owners all tried to find someone to fuse with it, but without exception, they all failed, so it has been left untouched until now. Shao Qi sighed. Everyone knows that the original divine essence of the gods is terrifying. Once fully integrated, it can create 4 invincible angels. But they just can't merge. Li Xiandao's voice was deep and resonant. Times have changed. The divine race did not pass down many bloodlines back then, which is why we are now unable to adapt to the original divine status. But in any era, there will always be a small group of people who undergo genetic mutations. Some become stronger, while others regress to their ancestral state. I just used my omniscience and omnipotence to carefully investigate Zhou Tianyu. He is a person who has reverted to his ancestral nature.
Otherwise, he would not have been able to give birth to a talent like the prophet, which has long disappeared in the river of history.
Li Xiandao removed his mask, smiled gently, and looked at Zhou Tianyu as if he were a precious treasure. I took his prophetic talent, so I will give him a powerful talent in return.
Of the four angelic races Yahweh, the strongest soul be the battle angel Michael.
Let him fuse with it. I believe he will definitely transform. Li Xiandao firmly believed.
Chapter 24 Battle Angel Pace Hami Tomaster.
Although Li Xiandao currently has no cultivation, his terrifying talent is beginning to show its power. In his observation, Zhou Tianyu has the highest probability of fusing with the battle angel Michael. If he can withstand Michael's soul invasion, he can turn the tables on him and become a new generation of battle angel. Click. Li Xiandao casually crushed the primordial divine core, and a ray of holy light was born. Within the holy light, a male angel with 12 pairs of wings slowly opened his eyes. He saw Li Xiandao. He saw Shao Qi. He also saw Zhou Tianyu. This is Michael, the original battle angel, one of the archangels of the gods. Having memorized Li Xiandao and Shao Qi's faces, Michael turned and entered Zhou Tianyu's body. The holy light followed closely behind, completely entering Zhou Tianyu's body. Although Michael did not have the thinking ability of his prime, he still knew that once he was released, he would merge with humans. In fact, it wasn't just Li Xiandao who wanted to reshape the four archangels. They themselves were also waiting for someone who could merge with them. The glory of the gods cannot fade with the passing of history. They must shoulder the responsibility of the gods' revival. Therefore, Michael quickly merged into Zhou Tianyu's body. Seeing all this, Li Xiandao used his invincible power within the Heaven and Earth Bank to begin controlling their fusion. Suppress Michael's power, let Zhou Tianyu adapt little by little, and then let it backfire. Li Xiandao originally thought this would be a long process, at least a few months, if not a few years. But to everyone's surprise, Zhou Tianyu suddenly erupted upon contact, like a ferocious beast that hadn't eaten for decades, frantically devouring Michael's energy. Not caring that he was too full, he just kept eating. Upon seeing this, Li Xiandao released Michael.
Rumble.
When the battle angel Michael saw Zhou Tianyu consuming his power, he transferred all his power to him. If you're so capable, then devour it. If you fail, or if you succumb to my temptation, I will devour you. This was a battle where the slightest mistake could lead to death, and within Zhou Tianyu's body, ripples stirred silently. Seeing this, Li Xiandao took 2 steps back. It was no longer under his control. Zhou Tianyu and Michael were each relying on their own abilities. I took away his prophetic talent. I am now devoid of talent, my body is empty and needs to be filled, so he is really suitable to become the perfect representative of the gods in this era. Li Xiandao said calmly. He could see clearly that Zhou Tianyu and Michael had reached a draw. This is a huge victory for Zhou Tianyu, because he was just a human boy, while Michael was once a battle angel. A draw is a defeat for Michael. Michael had no choice but to try everything he could to bewitch Zhou Tianyu and lower his guard. But Zhou Tianyu only had one thing on his mind. Become a battle angel, serve my master. Michael couldn't help but think that this master must be the one who took him out from outside. Time passed by, and for 3 days, Li Xiandao and Shao Qi watched silently and protected Zhou Tianyu without uttering a word. Michael had disappeared from Zhou Tianyu's body. In the deepest part of his consciousness, Zhou Tianyu and Michael became one, inseparable, influencing and complementing each other. Boom. Suddenly, a powerful energy erupted from Zhou Tianyu's body, spreading outwards. A barrier appeared in front of Li Xiandao, blocking the aura.
Rumble.
A strong wind blew, thunder roared, and holy light fell to the ground, flashing and dazzling. Li Xiandao squinted his eyes. Wait quietly. Thump, thump, thump. A crisp footstep rang out, and out of the holy light emerged a man clad in silver armor, with a handsome yet cold face, and long, flowing hair that moved without wind.
Zhou Tianyu.
Perhaps it would be more accurate to call him a battle angel now. Zhou Tianyu, wielding a world-destroying halberd, with 2 pairs of virtual wings on his back, trembled slightly and disappeared, exuding a terrifying aura as he arrived before Li Xiandao. Battle Angel Michael greets his master. Zhou Tianyu knelt on one knee, his long spear standing on the ground, gleaming with silver light.
Are you Michael or Zhou Tianyu now?
Li Xiandao asked, somewhat confused about who was in charge. From now on, there will only be the Battle Angel Michael, who belongs to his master.
Zhou Tianyu is dead.
He died after taking his revenge. Battle Angel Michael said coldly. Li Xiandao looked at the imposing Battle Angel before him and smiled. Rise. From this day forward, you are the first angel of the divine race under my command. And the future leader of the 4 horsemen, the Battle Angel. I hope you can live up to this title. The Battle Angel Michael, wielding his world-destroying halberd, declared, As you command, my master. Xiao Qi watched from the side, her beautiful eyes filled with surprise, but then she said happily, Congratulations, master, you have obtained a knight with unlimited potential and found the perfect candidate. After that, the 3 original divine sparks will no longer be a problem. Li Xiandao said with satisfaction, From this day forward, I will make sure that the entire 9 heavens and 10 earths remember the power of my 4 angels. I will slay all of my master's enemies. The Battle Angel Michael said coldly. Li Xiandao said with satisfaction, Go and get used to this power first, and then practice all the divine techniques. After that, I will send you into battle. The Battle Angel Michael respectfully withdrew. Xiao Qi clicked her tongue in amazement and asked, When did Master subdue Zhou Tianyu? When you reach out a hand to someone who is deep in despair and pull them out of the mire, then you are their savior, Li Xiandao said with a smile.
By the way, Master, Bai Di Tianguangmin is looking for you.
Xiao Qi suddenly said. Li Xiandao asked in surprise, Didn't he go back to break through? Bai Di Tianguangming is a very proud person. His pride even made Li Xiandao feel dissatisfied, and even a little arrogant. So Li Xiandao sent him back to break through his limits as a test, to see when he would return, or if he would simply not return and hide for 14 years. But to Li Xiandao's surprise, he returned so quickly. Zhou Tianyu had just avenged his great enemy when Tian Guangming arrived, which means that his mindset had changed. Perhaps they changed their minds after learning about the power of the Heaven and Earth Bank, Xiao Qi guessed. It's a pity he's not a good candidate. If possible, I would be willing to give him a chance to become one of my 4 horsemen, but his talent is too weak, Li Xiandao said regretfully. He currently only has Tian Guangming and the Battle Angel Michael under his command, who was formerly Zhou Tianyu. Based on the principle of keeping the benefits within the family, Li Xiandao also considered Tian Guangming, but after careful consideration, he gave up on it. Tian Guangming certainly wouldn't be able to hold on. I'll go out and see what he thinks. Li Xiandao stepped out and appeared in the Lingshu Holy Land.
Chapter 25 The Great River Sourdi.
The sacred Lingshu mountain range stretches across the mountains, boasting magnificent architecture and an imposing atmosphere. However, it is sadly silent and deserted. The vast Lingshu Holy Land was completely deserted. Li Xiandao appeared on a mountaintop, his tall figure standing at the windy spot, his clothes fluttering and his hair dancing wildly. He saw the light of day and was sitting silently in the distance, lost in thought. 14 years is still a long time. Why are you back so soon? What are you planning to do? Li Xiandao asked, his voice carried far by the wind. Tian Guangming, who was resting several mountains away, suddenly stood up, his eyes burning as he stared at Li Xiandao. His figure vanished from his spot and flew to Li Xiandao's side. He's broken through.
Saint Lord level combat power, not bad.
Li Xiandao looked at Tian Guangming, somewhat surprised that he had broken through so quickly. I thought it would take at least 3 months for Tian Guangming to break through. But he broke through in less than a week. That's too fast. It doesn't match his ordinary talent. Li Xiandao was sizing up Tian Guangming, and Tian Guangming was also sizing him up. The experiences of the past few days have begun to shake the resolve of Tian Guangming, a man who has been steadfast in his spiritual practice since childhood. Chendi Chenzhuang is a place where anything can be traded. Someone actually sold their talent in exchange for a celestial artifact to take revenge. What he didn't expect was that he had also sold his freedom for 14 years in exchange for 500,000 divine sources to use for a breakthrough. Just how much power does this Heaven and Earth Bank have? Tian Guangming refused the position of sect leader of the Heavenly Dao sect and returned here because he felt that he had seen the future at the Heavenly Bank. It was a vague and ethereal idea, and he didn't even know why he had it. Even if the Heaven and Earth Bank could provide a celestial artifact to a mere Dao-seeking realm youth for revenge, so what? Why can we see the future? Even Tian Guangming himself couldn't give an answer, but deep down, he firmly believed it. I came back because I respect the contract. A true man keeps his word. Since I sold you 14 years of my life, from now on, for the next 14 years, I will be your subordinate, your henchman, and I can do things for you, as long as I don't violate my morals, Tian Guangming said in a deep voice. Now that he's back, he won't change his mind. Li Xiandao's lips curled up and he said, "Very good. It seems you value contracts quite a bit. Not bad. I'm quite pleased to have such a sense of contract in this era. Compare that pile of bad debts in Tiandi Money House. They're all a bunch of bastards who don't value contracts and breach them at will after signing them. In comparison, Tian Guangming is much better. They respect contracts and keep their promises." Although the first impression wasn't good, Li Xiandao now looked at Tian Guangming with new respect and thought for a moment before saying, "Since you'll be working for my Tiandi Chenzhuang for the next 14 years, let's go in and meet the master." Tian Guangming's expression turned serious. He felt quite pressured seeing that mysterious and unpredictable master. Li Xiandao simply waved his sleeve, and Tian Guangming disappeared from the spot, entering the Heaven and Earth Bank. Following closely behind, Li Xiandao also stepped into the Heaven and Earth Bank, changed his clothes, and put on a dark gold mask. Tian Guangming looked around the main hall, still marveling at how Li Xiandao outside had no cultivation, yet with a wave of his sleeve, even Tian Guangming, a Saint Lord level fighter, couldn't resist and was obediently brought inside. Fear. Da. Li Xiandao walked in, looked at Tian Guangming, and said, "Are you determined to fulfill this 14-year contract?" Tian Guangming respectfully replied, "Of course we will comply." "Very well, from now on, you are a member of my Heaven and Earth Bank, no longer a member of the Heavenly Dao sect. Be obedient for the next 14 years. And after 14 years, you may leave as you please." Li Xiandao said with satisfaction. "Yes, master." Tian Guangming nodded heavily. "I happen to have something I need you to handle." Li Xiandao said casually, his eyes darting around. "Your subordinate will do everything in his power, without hesitation." Tian Guangming shouted. Li Xiandao waved his hand and said, "This mission is actually very simple. I need you to collect debts." Tian Guangming asked in surprise, "Collecting debts?" "Indeed, I admire your respect for contracts, as it is extremely rare. Many people in this world sign contracts and then forget about them, treating them like a joke. Chendi Bank has a lot of bad debts, so this time you will help me get them back." Li Xiandao said in a deep voice, his expression somewhat dissatisfied. After awakening his talent, he reorganized the Heaven and Earth Bank from the inside out, and was then stunned by the countless defaulted debts. Those contracts, signed in black and white, are often denied by many. It's not just the contracts in the Greatly Earth, but also those in the other 9 heavens and 10 earths, including the immortal realm. No wonder the previous owners all died. The huge bad debts were shocking to Li Xiandao. If they didn't die, who would? "What debt are you collecting?" Tian Guangming asked curiously.
The Great River Sword Sect, the Supreme Secret Manual, the Great River Swordy.
Li Xiandao said coldly. Tian Guangming was truly astonished and said, "The Great River Sword Sect is the #1 sword sect in the Greatly Land. Its strength is vaguely stronger than that of the Heavenly Dao sect. Their ancestral technique, Great River Sword Qi, is extremely terrifying. It is said to have the power to cut down the Milky Way and shatter the heavens." That's right, the Great River Sword Qi, when cultivated to its peak, possesses such abilities. Li Xiandao nodded. The sword energy of the Great River descends from the heavens, cleaving down the 9 heavens with a single strike. This is the best evaluation of the Great River Sword Qi. The Great River Sword Qi is just that powerful.
The Great River Sword belongs to our Aven Bank.
Tian Guangming was a little incredulous. This was the lifeblood of the Great River Sword Sect. Li Xiandao nodded and said, 10,000 years ago, the founder of the Great River Sword Sect borrowed the Great River Sword Qi technique from the Heaven and Earth Bank with his own soul, and then founded the Great River Sword Sect, a sword sect, based on the Great River Sword Qi. Tian Guangming's mouth dropped open. He never expected that the founder of the Great River Sword Sect had also visited the Heaven and Earth money shop. He even exchanged his own soul for the rare and peerless sword technique, the Great River Sword Qi. The contract clearly states that this founding patriarch must return the heavenly bank of the Great River Sword Sect 10,000 years later, along with a celestial artifact, in order to redeem his soul. Now that the time has come, he still hasn't made a move. Li Xiandao said quietly. Tian Guangming immediately said, "The Great River Sword Sect does possess a celestial artifact, a long sword. It was obtained by the sect's founder after venturing into a secret realm and enduring countless hardships. However, after bringing back the artifact, the sect's founder was seriously injured and went into seclusion. The Great River Sword Sect then began to pass on its legacy to the next generation, and it continues to this day." Li Xiandao's eyes were deep as he said, regardless of whether the founder of the Great River Sword Sect is still alive or not, and regardless of whether he brought back that immortal artifact to fulfill the contract, the fact remains that he breached the contract. "I want you to collect this debt. I can't beat the people from the Great River Sword Sect." Tian Guangming said softly, his face slightly flushed. It wasn't that he was unwilling to go, but even with Saint Lord level combat power, he couldn't possibly venture into the Great River Sword Sect alone. "You will have helpers going with you." Li Xiandao waved his hand, and his first battle angel stepped out coldly.
Chapter 26 Tian Guangming Shock. Click click click.
The silver armor clanged as it moved, producing a pleasant sound, like a beautiful melody, which made Tian Guangming turn his head to look.
"How cold it be you?"
Tian Guangming exclaimed, his eyes wide. The man, clad in armor, tall and imposing with a cold expression, resembling a war god, was none other than Zhou Tianyu. Bai Ditian was absolutely certain that this person was Zhou Tianyu. But his heart and his eyes were telling him that this was no longer Zhou Tianyu. The previous Zhou Tianyu was only at the Dao Inquiry realm, and he was insignificant in front of him. However, the Zhou Tianyu in front of him was at the same level as him, with considerable strength and a cold and aloof demeanor. Every move he made was full of style and he was extraordinary. This is not Zhou Tianyu. Zhou Tianyu's talent has already been sold, so he can no longer cultivate. Without his talent, he has no way to move forward and will be trapped in the same place forever. With these thoughts swirling in Tian Guangming's mind, the battle angel Michael knelt directly before Li Xiandao on one knee and said, "Michael greets his master." Get up. I originally wanted you to get used to your strength, but now there's something that requires you and Tian Guangming to go together, Li Xiandao said. "It is my greatest honor to be able to share my master's burdens." Battle Angel Michael said calmly, his eyes fixed on Li Xiandao's dark gold mask, revealing a fanatical fervor. In the heart of Zhou Tianyu, who is now the Battle Angel Michael, Li Xiandao is his faith in this life and the only person he follows.
"Go to the Great River Sword Sect now.
Whether their founder is alive or dead, you must settle the old scores and act according to the contract. Whatever is written in the contract, bring me back. Especially the soul of the Great River Sword Sect's founder, that belongs to my heaven and earth bank. Li Xiandao's voice was slightly cold, and he was very dissatisfied. The previous owner of Tiandi Money Shop was simply outrageous. The contract was signed. The founder of the Great River Sword Sect sold his soul to obtain the Great River Sword Chi technique, promising to return the original Great River Sword Chi and a celestial artifact 10,000 years later. Even if you don't say you'll preserve his soul, you must control it so that if he changes his mind, you can destroy him in an instant. But the previous owner did not do that. Instead, he gave the Great River Sword Chi but did not take away the soul. He let the other party leave like that. 10,000 years later, the other party had no intention of fulfilling the contract at all. That's absolutely outrageous. When Li Xiandao saw these messy accounts, he was so angry that his liver hurt. The fact that the Heaven and Earth Bank had become like this was entirely due to the actions of these owners.
This is the contract.
Go ahead and come back as soon as possible.
What I want is the original Great River Sword.
That contains the purest secrets of the Great River Sword Chi. The hand-copied copy is of no reference value. Li Xiandao said with a wave of his sleeve.
Yes, master.
Battle Angel Michael stood up, brandishing his world-destroying war halberd, his eyes cold. Li Xiandao's enemy is his enemy. The existence of the Battle Angel is to clear all obstacles for its master. Bai Di Tian Guangming also cupped his hands and said, "Your subordinate obeys." Go. Li Xiandao waved his hand, and a mysterious force directly sent the two of them out of the Heaven and Earth Bank. Inside the money exchange, Shao Qi asked Li Xian, "Master, are you planning to cultivate the Great River Sword Chi?" Shao Qi could see very clearly that Li Xiandao's decision to send Bai Di and the Battle Angel to the Great River Sword Sect to collect debts was ultimately to reclaim the original Great River Sword Chi.
Li Xiandao wants to cultivate the Great River Sword.
Li Xiandao nodded and said, "Currently, the Heaven and Earth Bank does not have any cultivation techniques for me to practice. The shallow martial arts I stole from the Zhou family are not enough to support my continued cultivation. What I lack now, being omniscient and omnipotent, is a cultivation technique that directly points to the Great Tao. The Great River Sword Chi is this very technique. A cultivation method suitable for Li Xiandao. Obtain the Great River Sword Chi." Li Xiandao could leap over the Dragon Gate in an instant, becoming a great master thanks to his powerful talent. Therefore, among many debts, he chose the debt to the Great River Sword Sect. Does Master think that Bai Di Tian Guangming and the Battle Angel Michael can retrieve the Great River Sword Chi from the Great River Sword Sect? Shao Qi asked curiously. Of course, as long as there are no saint-level experts within the Great River Sword Sect, the Battle Angel will be invincible. And as time goes by, the Battle Angel will become stronger and stronger. Perhaps a year from now, even a saint will not be his match. Li Xiandao said calmly. Li Xiandao had complete confidence in Michael, the divine warrior angel who was under his command. His battle angels will never be defeated. In the holy land of Spirit Void, the battle angel Michael and the White Emperor Tian Guangming were teleported out. Looking around at the silent world, with only howling winds and no human figures, they saw a vast expanse of earth. The White Emperor couldn't help but look at the battle angel Michael and ask, "Are you still Zhou Tianyu now?" Battle Angel Michael glanced at Bai Di Tian Guangming and said calmly, "From now on, there is only Battle Angel Michael, not Zhou Tianyu." Tian Guangming's pupils contracted in surprise. "What did the owner of the Heaven and Earth Bank do to you?"
You bebé empecest.
Clang. The Battle Angel Michael raised his world-destroying war halberd and pressed it against Tian Guangming's forehead, coldly saying, "Are you slandering your master?" Tian Guangming felt a chill run down his spine from the killing intent emanating from the world-destroying war spear. He quickly retreated and explained, "No, I absolutely didn't mean that. I just felt that you had changed too much, and I was a little confused." I was more than just a little confused. I simply couldn't believe my eyes. Just a day ago, Zhou Tianyu was only at the Tao-seeking realm. He charged into the Heavenly Tao sect with the Heavenly Emperor brush in hand. If it weren't for the Heavenly Emperor brush opening the immortal restriction, the Heavenly Tao sect would definitely have killed Zhou Tianyu. But a day later, Zhou Tianyu completely changed, not only in appearance, but also in temperament and cultivation.
He went from the Tao-seeking realm to the heavenly origin realm in an instant, and was at the same level as him, both belonging to the Saint Lord level of combat power.
And then there's the halberd in Zhou Tianyu's hand, radiating endless killing intent. Tian Guangming senses that this is another immortal artifact. Even a slight scratch could be fatal. With such a drastic change, what exactly did the owner of Tiandi Money House do to Zhou Tianyu? Furthermore, why is Zhou Tianyu so protective of the owner of Tiandi Money House? He's practically obedient to his every command, the most loyal subordinate. Tian Guangming really wanted to know. He wanted to understand Tiandi Qianzhuang. Looking at the bright sky, the battle angel Michael sheathed his world-destroying war spear and said coldly, "The former Zhou Tianyu is dead. From now on, there is only the battle angel Michael. I have been given a new life by my master. I am still myself, but my only faith in this life is my master." Tian Guangming didn't know what to say. This Zhou Tianyu. No, it's Battle Angel Michael who has come to regard the owner of the Heaven and Earth Bank as a god. Tian Guangming couldn't help but wonder, is the Heaven and Earth Bank so mysterious and powerful that it must be a god? Even the legendary immortals don't seem to have such powerful and bizarre methods. Chapter 27 The Great River Sword Sect. The Great River Sword Sect is located on Mount Lu in the Great Li region, and the entire Mount Lu is within the territory of the Great River Sword Sect. Lushan Mountain is as large as the Shawan Mountains, but most of it is deserted and uninhabited. The Great River Sword Sect has only been established for 10,000 years. During these 10,000 years, their founders are still alive, so the sect has only been passed down to the present day for a few generations. The Great River Sword Sect doesn't have many disciples. In 10,000 years, they've only had a little over 4,000. They don't accept disciples randomly. They look at their talent and how well they fit with the Great River Sword Chi before deciding whether to accept them. Therefore, Mount Lu is very large, but the disciples of the Great River Sword Sect are few. Each person is assigned a region and practices swordsmanship like crazy. The entire Lushan Mountain is filled with sword intent. Over the past 10,000 years, countless sword intents have been born here among their disciples. It is precisely because of the power of the Great River Sword Chi that they have surpassed many sects and become a first-class sect. Unlike the Lingshu Holy Land, the Great River Sword Sect did not manage a large number of ordinary people. They only controlled everything within a few thousand miles of Lushan Mountain, and then practiced their swordsmanship in peace within Lushan Mountain. They generally don't cause trouble for outsiders. Therefore, they are not worried about enemies coming to their door. Who would want to make an enemy of a top-tier power for no reason? Are they all madmen wielding swords? The entire Great River Sword Sect is truly diligent. This surging sword intent is terrifying. Tian Guangming came to the gate of the capital and looked at the scattered sword marks on the broken walls, shaking his head and sighing. The battle angel Michael stood silently to the side, watching indifferently. Tian Guangming sighed. The Great River Sword Sect is full of lunatics from top to bottom. All they know is how to practice swordsmanship. They don't pay much attention to the outside world. They just want to comprehend the Great River Sword Chi and ascend to the immortal realm while guarding their own little corner of the world. Battle Angel Michael coldly replied, "The Great River Sword Chi belongs to my Heaven and Earth Bank. They need to return it. They will never be able to comprehend it in this lifetime." Thump. As soon as the Battle Angel Michael finished speaking, he pointed his world-destroying war halberd, and a burst of pure white holy light erupted, flashing in the air and directly rushing up to the mountain gate of the Great River Sword Sect. Rumble. The gate of the Great River Sword Sect collapsed in an instant, with rocks flying everywhere and dust billowing in the air. Who dares to run wild in my Great River Sword Sect?
The Great River Sword Sect lives a life of peace and tranquility, never causing trouble.
Our disciples are law-abiding and obedient.
May ask who you are.
You destroyed my sect today. Did you want to see if the swords of my Great River Sword sect are sharp enough? The Great River Sword sect will not tolerate such humiliation. A series of cold voices rang out, followed by sword energy that shot straight into the sky for 30,000 miles, as colorful and dazzling as a rainbow, shimmering in mid-air. Clang, 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 clang. With the clang of swords being drawn, figures appeared and surrounded Tian Guangming and the battle angel Michael in front of the Great River Sword sect's mountain gate. Michael remained calm, ignoring the people around him, and looked towards the depths of the Great River Sword sect. He didn't take these people seriously, even if there are many geniuses and experts among these people. But none of them were at the heavenly origin realm, so he didn't take them seriously. Tian Guangming said with a wry smile, "Why not just go in and find their current sect leader? Why break down their gates? They owe us money and we're just paying the price," said Michael, the battle angel.
Tian Guangming fell silent.
Whenever the mysterious owner of the Heaven and Earth Bank was mentioned, the battle angel Michael would wholeheartedly defend him. The entire Great River Sword sect was enraged by the actions of the battle angel Michael, and public sentiment was in uproar. In an instant, 10,000 swords flew across the sky, carrying a Taoist priest. Sect leader. With the sect leader here, this villain is doomed. The sect leader possesses combat strength at the Saint Lord level. Another sword cultivator, his strength is arguably the best in the Greatly land. Yes, these two must pay a bloody price today. The Great River Sword sect will not tolerate such humiliation. The disciples were filled with excitement, eagerly anticipating seeing their leader take action and teach this arrogant fool a lesson. However, when the current leader of the Great River Sword sect saw the battle angel Michael and the White Emperor Tian Guangming, his expression turned serious and his pupils constricted. He knew that things were not going to go well. These two people, like him, possess combat power at the Saint Lord level. Moreover, Bai Diqian is a man of great renown and prestige. He was already a super powerful figure among the leaders, and now that he has broken through to the Holy Lord level, he is even more terrifying. Bai Di Tian Guangming, my Great River Sword sect and the Heavenly Dao sect have no enmity, right? Why have you broken into my Great River Sword sect's mountain gate today? The Great River Sword sect leader asked angrily. Tian Guangming paused for a moment, then said, Tian Guangming is no longer an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect. We have come here today to collect a debt. When the leader of the Great River Sword sect heard that Tian Guangming was not an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect, he felt relieved. This way, even if he killed Tian Guangming, the Heavenly Dao sect would have no reason to cause trouble. But as soon as he heard about the debt collection, he frowned and sneered. My Great River Sword sect has always lived a life of peace and tranquility, never causing trouble for others. Our disciples are also diligent and self-disciplined, practicing swordsmanship diligently, and we never owe anything to anyone. Tian Guangming said quietly, Who said you owe it? You should ask your ancestor. Didn't he tell you some old stories?
Absurd.
The leader of the Great River Sword sect angrily rebuked Tian Guangming, his eyes filled with hostility. Our founding ancestor of the Great River Sword sect experienced the Great War of Heaven and Earth in his early years and has been recuperating ever since. He has not yet emerged from seclusion. How could he have ever owed you anything? Bai Di Tian Guangming, I respect your cultivation level, which is quite good, having broken through to the Tianyuan realm. But if you continue to spout nonsense, don't blame my Great River Sword Chi for showing no mercy. Even if you have broken through, you will still be no match for me. The leader of the Great River Sword sect waved his sleeve and said coldly, Clang, clang, clang. At the same time, the 10,000 long swords behind him trembled in unison, unleashing powerful sword energy that illuminated half the sky. When the battle angel Michael saw this scene, his eyes turned slightly cold. He took a step forward, raised the world-destroying war halberd in his hand, and suddenly trembled. Boom! An aura of murderous intent, capable of killing countless people, erupted from the world-destroying war spear. The dense crimson light caused everyone present to pale in shock. Even the most powerful demon might not possess such a powerful aura of murderous intent. An intensely dense killing intent erupted, instantly overwhelming the sword energy of the Great River Sword sect's leader. The battle angel Michael coldly asked, "Where is the founder of the Great River Sword sect?" The sect leader's face darkened as he asked, "What exactly do you want from my sect's founder?" "Collecting debts." The battle angel said coldly. "How could our sect's founder owe you any debts?" The sect leader sneered. "The two of you combined are not even as old as our founder, yet you're spouting nonsense here. I'm saying this for the last time. If the founder of the Great River Sword sect doesn't come out, then we'll storm in and cause rivers of blood to flow. As for whether your founder owes any debts, everything will be clear once he comes out.
Don't make me gonna killing spree in your Great River Sword sect."
As soon as the battle angel finished speaking, 4 wings appeared on his back, spreading out to be more than 10 meters long, which were very beautiful and carried him to hover in mid-air. Clang! The angel armor closed at that moment, leaving only a pair of cold eyes staring outwards at the battle angel. If the leader of the Great River Sword sect dares to utter a single word of dissent, Michael will immediately attack, giving the Great River Sword sect a lesson they will never forget. He made no attempt to conceal his aura, which intimidated the people of the Great River Sword sect.
Chapter 28 The Powerful Battle Angel.
At the entrance of the Great River Sword sect, tensions were high, as if a fight was about to break out at any moment. The battle angel Michael hovered in mid-air, his battle halberd pointing to the sky, his aura soaring, and the holy light behind him spreading continuously, like a second sun. The leader of the Great River Sword sect had an unpredictable expression, and was extremely angry. He did not believe the words of the battle angel Michael and Tian Guangming at all, and thought that they were just making trouble out of nothing. "Although my Great River Sword sect has only been established for a short time, it is not something you two can humiliate." The sect leader roared, suddenly drawing a sword from among tens of thousands of long swords behind him and charging forward.
"The sword of the Great River descends from the heavens. This is the essence of the Great River Sword technique."
When you unleash a sword strike, the sword energy is like a great river, vast and mighty, surging and turbulent, extremely powerful. The leader of the Great River Sword sect still chose to take action. The prestige of the #1 sword sect cannot be humiliated by the battle angel Michael and the White Emperor Tian Guangming. Battle angel Michael's eyes were indifferent, as if he had known all along that the other party would make a move. With the world-destroying war spear in hand, he immediately slashed across the sky. His strength could uproot mountains, and his spirit could cover the world. This attack looked like an ant trying to shake a tree, a flash of cold light crashing into a great river. But the power it caused was terrifying.
Rumble.
The raging river transformed into a ferocious face, its mouth agape, ready to devour the battle angel Michael. But Michael was no ordinary man. After merging with the Archangel of the Gods, his fighting style changed drastically. His body transformed, moving like lightning, ceaselessly rushing forward, wielding the world-destroying war halberd, ready to strike fiercely.
Holy light shines everywhere.
The world-destroying war god unleashed a torrent of killing intent, which merged with the holy light emanating from the battle angel Michael. The resulting burst of light was terrifying, transforming into a rain of holy light that dispelled the Great River Sword Chi.
Die, the battle angel Michael coldly roared.
The world-destroying war halberd swept across, causing ripples in the air, like a stone being thrown into a calm lake.
I fought this sword with my own body.
The leader of the Great River Sword sect was no less impressive. If he didn't have any skills, he wouldn't be the leader of the Great River Sword sect. At this moment, he merged with the Tao, becoming one with the tens of thousands of swords behind him, and bursting out with tremendous light. Kill. The leader of the Great River Sword sect unleashed his ultimate technique in an attempt to capture the battle angel Michael. Clang. The attack by the battle angel Michael caused a huge shock, stirring up a storm in mid-air that spread out in an instant, sweeping across more than a dozen mountain peaks and severing them in half. The disciples of the Great River Sword sect were stunned. Their leader is very strong, there's no doubt about that. But how come this strange man, clad in armor and with wings on his back, is so powerful that he fought to a draw with their leader. Such a highly skilled expert shouldn't be unknown in the Great Li region. Many people were watching the battlefield intently, while also wondering, who exactly is the battle angel Michael? Bai Ditian was also watching. He didn't move because several divine souls were secretly locking onto him. If he dared to interfere, he would be met with the hidden forces of the Great River Sword Sect. The Great River Sword Sect has definitely more than just one Saint Lord level fighter, the sect leader.
Therefore, the fact that the sky remained still meant that those hidden in the shadows had been drawn in, and the battlefield had been handed over to the battle angel Michael and the leader of the Great River Sword Sect.
Tian Guangming believed that the battle angel Michael would not let him down.
Knack knack knack.
The battle angel Michael walked through the void, his footsteps making a sound as he approached the leader of the Great River Sword Sect.
His eyes were cold, he wore a silver-white helmet, his hair flew wildly, and the world-destroying war halberd in his hand drew an arc, pointing directly at the leader of the Great River Sword Sect.
I've only just adapted to the power, so I'm not very strong yet. Next, I'll experience the might of the gods. Battle Angel Mimigal emphasized. Although he still held Zhou Tianyu's thoughts, his fusion with the Battle Angel Michael also made him value the revival of the gods, the development of the gods, and the reputation of the gods. The leader of the Great River Sword Sect reached out and grabbed, and tens of thousands of long swords instantly merged into his palm, transforming into a 3-meter-long sword. With a blade 3 meters long, this shouldn't be considered a sword anymore, but at the same time, it's an ultimate weapon of slaughter, something that Master Duo himself comprehended. I cannot fathom the Great River Sword Chi, so I have found another way and developed my own swordsmanship. This move, God-slaying sword, please taste it. The sect leader's eyes were burning. He was no longer angry that the battle angel Michael and the heavenly light had humiliated his master. He regarded Michael as his greatest opponent at present and wanted to unleash his strongest move to kill him. Clang! The 3-meter-long sword erupted instantly, unleashing a sword aura 1,000 meters long that swept across the domain, invincible. It seemed that any enemy that encountered it would explode instantly. But this does not include the battle angel Michael. He held the world-destroying war halberd in his hand, his eyes filled with memories. At his peak, Michael was one of the archangels of the gods, possessing invincible strength. Even though he had only recently merged with the divine race and had not inherited much, he was still not someone that mortals could challenge. The dignity of the gods, the majesty of the battle angels, and Michael's pride made it impossible for him to avoid this move. Since we can't avoid it, let's fight it head-on. Kill! The battle angel Michael uttered a single word, his wings flapping violently behind him as he thrust forward, wielding his world-destroying war halberd. No matter how many changes you make, I am still a thorn. It was a clean and effortless strike, but it also put a lot of pressure on the fundamentals.
A world-destroying blow.
This was the most powerful attack Michael unleashed when the era was destroyed. Its power back then accelerated the destruction of the era several times over.
Its current power is less than 1/millionth of what it was back then, but it is still not something a mere Holy Lord level figure can withstand.
Click. In an instant, the 1,000-meter-long sword aura of the Great River Sword Sect's leader shattered without any fluctuation, leaving only fragments scattered on the ground.
Rumble.
A surge of murderous intent, deathly aura, and holy light converged and struck the leader of the Great River Sword Sect.
Puff.
The sect leader tried his best to resist, but it was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. It was futile and he was no match for the sect leader. He was overturned and his body flew backward, crashing heavily into a mountain.
Ban.
The mountain was reduced to dust in an instant, but the leader of the Great River Sword Sect continued his assault. Hud, hud, hud. After crashing into and shattering 10 mountains in succession, the leader of the Great River Sword Sect finally stopped, coughing up blood, his face deathly pale, staring in disbelief. Is the battle angel Michael really that terrifying? Meanwhile, the battle angel Michael slowly descended from mid-air, holding the world-destroying war spear in his hand. His slender body touched the ground as he stood at the gate of the Great River Sword Sect and said, "Now, you can summon your ancestor, Don't force me to go on a killing spree. The entire Great River Sword sect became extremely calm in an instant.
Chapter 29. Throwing Zampra's pen. The Battle Angel Michael intimidated the entire Great River Sword sect. The sect leader was defeated and seriously injured, unable to fight any longer. Thousands of disciples were filled with righteous indignation, but to no avail. Tianganmeh could even feel the pressure from the two figures staring at him becoming increasingly agitated. It seems the hidden forces of the Great River Sword sect are about to be mobilized. But can they defeat the Battle Angel Michael? After all, even their leader was defeated. Who exactly are you people? The leader of the Great River Sword sect coughed up blood, his eyes filled with resentment and anger. You who are collecting debts, I know your ancestor is not dead. Make him come out. This debt is his. If he doesn't come out, then today, not a single person in the Great River Sword sect will survive. Battle Angel Michael said coldly. The leader of the Great River Sword sect glared at the Battle Angel Michael, furious and shocked. Do you think you can slaughter my Great River Sword sect with just the two of you? I think it is possible. As it turns out, you have already lost. The Great River Sword sect has mobilized all its hidden forces, but I am not afraid. I will give you 1 minute. After 1 minute, I will start a massacre. The Battle Angel Michael's attitude remained cold. You were gone too far. The leader of the Great River Sword sect was so enraged that he spat out a mouthful of blood. The Battle Angel Michael said proudly, it is not that I am being unreasonable, but you have been owing a debt for 10,000 years. If we don't come to collect it, your ancestor will probably default on the debt. You keep saying that our ancestor owes a debt that he hasn't repaid, but what exactly is that debt? Explain yourself, the leader of the Great River Sword sect roared, feeling extremely aggrieved. Battle Angel Michael sneered, 10,000 years ago, the founder of the Great River Sword sect borrowed a secret manual from my master, the Great River Sword Chi. Absurd, the leader of the Great River Sword sect immediately rebuked. Ridiculous. An elder who had been hiding in the shadows couldn't help but jump out, displaying combat power at the Saint Lord level. This is an absolute joke. The Great River Sword Chi was obtained by our ancestor from a secret realm. You actually claimed it was given to you by your master. What a joke, an absolute joke. An old man with white hair stepped out. His eyes were cold. He was thin, but his back was straight, like an ancient and stubborn longsword, exuding boundless fighting spirit. The two hidden Saint Lord-level elders of the Great River Sword sect appeared and angrily rebuked the Battle Angel Michael. Not only them, but all the disciples of the Great River Sword sect glared at the Battle Angel, taking his words as the greatest provocation. The Battle Angel Michael remained unmoved. He and Tianganmeh advanced and retreated together, and he was not much inferior to the 3 Holy Lord-level combatants. Especially the Battle Angel Michael, who was high above and had a powerful aura. Facing the 3 people, he was not afraid at all and still sneered, since you don't believe me, then let your ancestor come out and refute me. I have a contract here that your ancestor signed by his own hand. The gaunt old man stepped forward and coldly shouted, our ancestor has been in seclusion for 1,000 years, attempting to break through to a higher level. How could he possibly break through today based on your inside account? If your ancestor comes out today, fine. If he doesn't, then there is no point in the Great River Sword sect existing. The Battle Angel Michael showed no sign of backing down. His eyes were cold as he surveyed the surroundings, holding the world-destroying spear in his hand, exuding an imposing aura. Insolence! The gaunt old man took a step forward. Despite his advanced age, his sword energy was extremely dense and pure, placing him among the top ranks of Saint Lord-level combat power. Clan. A sword beam flashed in the sky, carrying an incomparably brilliant consciousness, pointing at the battle angel Michael. If Michael made any move, he would be met with a thunderous roar. My great river sword sect will not tolerate your humiliation, the old man said sternly. Tianganmeh, who had been watching silently, stepped forward and said, "Everyone, don't force us to bring in the celestial artifact." "Suppress you." A celestial artifact. The leader of the Great River Sword sect frowned, inwardly marveling that the other party actually possessed a celestial artifact. So what if it is a celestial artifact? My Great River Sword sect has one too. What is there to fear? The old man's attitude remained firm. Battle Angel Michael frowned. This old man was troublesome. He was at the peak of the Holy Lord level in terms of combat power. Battle Angel Michael had only just merged with the Holy Lord and could barely fight him. What about the Light of Day? Tianganmeh is unable to fight two opponents alone, let alone the entire Great River Sword sect. Should we really ask our master to bestow upon us the celestial artifact, the Empire's brush? The Battle Angel Michael was very reluctant to do this, because doing so would mean that the first thing he had done for his master had failed. Ultimately, it is up to the owner to clean up the mess. The situation has suddenly reached a stalemate. Inside the Heaven and Earth Money House, Xiandao was closing his eyes, studying his talent until it reached 100%. Suddenly, Xiandao opened his eyes and saw the predicament of the Battle Angel Michael. Frowning, Xiandao murmured, "My subordinates are still too weak. Two Saint Lord-level combatants alone are not enough to suppress a sect in a large ally region, not to mention the many deaths that need to be dealt with." He is now eager to expand his influence. However, the most urgent matter is to resolve the immediate issue. With a flick of his wrist, Xiandao conjured up the Empire's brush, which was only the size of a palm and was held in his hand. "Little Seven, inject 10,000 pieces of divine source." Xiandao said calmly. "Yes, master." Xiaoqi nodded. Xiandao held the Empire's brush in his hand, then tossed it into the air, and the Empire's brush instantly disappeared before his eyes. The Great River Sword sect. The situation reached a stalemate. The leader of the Great River Sword sect also stood up, stopped his injuries, and although he was not at his peak, he could still do some work. 3 against 2. The most crucial thing is this stubborn old man, his cultivation level is too high. The Battle Angel Michael couldn't do anything to him. Similarly, the opponent couldn't do anything about the Battle Angel, because the Battle Angel Michael had just demonstrated his power, decisively defeating the leader of the Great River Sword sect. Just as the situation reached a stalemate, a black hole appeared in the sky, attracting everyone's attention. What is this thing? The people of the Great River Sword sect all frowned as they looked at it. Even the gaunt old man had a serious expression. It is certain that this wasn't done by the Great River Sword sect. Are they reinforcements from the other side? Boom! In an instant, the Empire's brush flew out of the black hole and smashed into the front gate of the Great River Sword sect. Rumble! The dozens of mountain ranges near the mountain gate, stretching for hundreds of miles, were completely reduced to ruins, with no possibility of any life surviving. A huge, crystal silver pen, shimmering with light, appeared before everyone's eyes. Battle Angel Michael felt ashamed. Seeing the Empire's brush appear, he knew his master was aware of the situation and knew they couldn't defeat the Great River Sword sect. That is why he sent the Empire's brush to provide support. "I failed the first time, but I absolutely cannot fail a second time." The Battle Angel Michael's eyes were firm. He reached out, grasped the Empire's pen, and wrote a single word. Done. Chapter 30. The Sage Ancestor. This website address can be remembered in a second, fastest updates. No ads. The appearance of the celestial artifact, the Emperor's brush, shattered the balance of the battlefield. The moment the word, death, appeared, it unleashed tremendous power, instantly engulfing the emaciated old man. Rumble. The Emperor's brush unleashed its immense power all at once. Battle Angel Michael looked on coldly and said, I already told you, don't force your master to take action, or you won't be able to withstand it. The gaunt old man gritted his teeth, and thousands of sword energies burst forth from his body. He was like a blazing sun, tearing through the sky and crashing directly into the Battle Angel. In the critical moment, the old man still used his great strength to transfer the damage, suppressing the attack of the Emperor's pen all at once, and instead unleashing all his power to kill the Battle Angel Michael. Unfortunately, Michael was too agile. The four wings on his back flashed, allowing him to fly into the air in an instant and avoid the attack. Rumble. The old man's attack missed its mark, but its power swept across 3,000 miles of mountains and rivers, instantly destroying everything. Looking down from the sky, the area spanning 3,000 miles has turned into a barren wasteland. Upon closer inspection, its shape resembles a long sword, a colossal form that is truly a windsparrow. This shows how powerful the old man was. But that was all. The result of his desperate struggle was that he was burned to ashes by the Emperor's pen, leaving not a trace of his bones, and disappeared into the air. The leader of the Great River Sword sect cried out in agony, Elder. All the disciples of the Great River Sword sect were filled with righteous indignation, glaring resentfully at the Battle Angel. But it was all in vain. The Battle Angel Michael was already powerful, and now, wielding a celestial weapon, he was invincible. Did the founder of the Great River Sword sect always want to be a coward? Tianganmeh suddenly shouted, his voice echoing among the mountains of the Great River Sword sect. The founder of the Great River Sword sect must have heard it. We don't want to start a massacre, we just want to settle the debts from back then. We're here to collect debts, not to kill people. Tianganmeh spoke politely at first, but his expression suddenly changed and turned cold. But our time is precious. If you continue to cower like a coward, you're putting the Great River Sword sect in danger. Don't blame us for being ruthless. The Battle Angel Michael looked around and suddenly wrote a word with the Emperor's pen. Sleepy. The trapping technique bound the entire Great River Sword sect, its leader, elders, and disciples, together, imprisoning them in place and preventing their escape. The people of the Great River Sword sect were unable to escape the Emperor's brush's seal. Their expressions changed drastically, filled with extreme anger and helplessness. I'll count to 3. If you don't show up, I'll kill everyone from the Great River Sword sect and completely destroy it. Battle Angel Michael said coldly. The members of the Great River Sword sect were all shocked. What should they do? The Great River Sword sect fell silent for a moment. 1. The Battle Angel Michael hovered in midair, with the Emperor's pen swirling around him, and he held the world-destroying spear in his hand, exuding a powerful aura. The Great River Sword sect remained silent. 2. Battle Angel Michael continued shouting. Still no movement. A cold glint flashed in Michael's eyes. Since you won't show up and ignore the deaths of your disciples, then don't blame him. Previously, because the founder of the Great River Sword sect was very well hidden, no one knew where he was in seclusion. They only knew that he was in the Great River Sword sect, so the sect leader could only worry helplessly. Master, please come out quickly. Stop your seclusion. The Great River Sword sect is about to be destroyed. The sect leader of the Great River Sword sect was anxious but helpless. Tianganmeh suddenly asked, where are the immortal artifacts of your Great River Sword sect? The sect leader replied, the immortal artifact is with our patriarch, and he keeps it safe himself. no one knows where it is. Upon hearing this, Tianganmeh looked towards the depths of the Great River Sword Sect. This patriarch is really keeping his composure, he hasn't come out yet. 3. Battle Angel Michael coldly stared at the group from the Great River Sword Sect. He raised the world-destroying battle halberd in his hand, death energy gathering at its top. One strike and the entire Great River Sword Sect will be wiped out. I am here. Just then, a figure appeared silently in the hall, hunched over, with white hair and a weak breath, looking like an old man on his deathbed. The founder of the Great River Sword Sect, the one who signed the contract back then. He appeared. Battle Angel Michael sheathed his world-destroying spear, slowly descended from midair, folding his wings, and asked, "Are you the founder of the Great River Sword Sect?" The old man nodded and said bitterly, "If I had known you were coming, I would have taken a chance and stayed hidden. I never expected you to be so powerful." The old man's words left everyone in the Great River Sword Sect dumbfounded. So that was real. It turns out that the Great River Sword Chi was indeed lent to their ancestor by someone else. It turns out that the patriarch really was someone who broke his promise and refused to pay his debts. Thus shattered the face of many righteous people, leaving them staring blankly. Tianganmeh said, "Since you signed the contract, you should know how powerful an organization is behind us. How dare you breach the contract?" The old man coughed, his blood and chi were weak, and he said in a trembling voice, "Back then, I never thought of breaking the contract. For this, I went through all kinds of hardships, went to the battlefield of heaven and earth, fought bloody battles on all sides, killed many enemies with the Great River Sword Chi, and even seized a celestial weapon, wanting to pay off the debt." The battle angel Michael listened silently, his expression cold. The old man is very strong. If he were in his prime, Michael would be no match for him. But now the old man is injured. He had been in seclusion to recover from his injuries sustained on the battlefield, but his condition had deteriorated until now, when he was on the verge of death. "You're about to die, why don't you show yourself when we come?" asked the battle angel Michael. "Because I want to leave this immortal artifact to the Great River Sword Sect, so that the Great River Sword Sect will have a foundation to deal with a series of troubles after I leave," the old man said bitterly, kneeling down tremblingly. "I will take responsibility for my mistakes. The disciples of the Great River Sword Sect are innocent. Please release them," the old man pleaded. With a wave of his hand, the battle angel Michael lifted the shackles on heaven and earth, freeing the disciples of the Great River Sword Sect. "You shouldn't be kneeling before me. Now you must come with me to see our master. You have violated the contract and must pay the price. Take the original of the Great River Sword Chi and come with us." Battle angel Michael stared at the old man, then turned and left. "The original source of the Great River Sword Chi was within me," the old man said softly. Now that things had come to this, he had calmed down. "Wait a moment, may we bid farewell to our patriarch?" the leader of the Great River Sword Sect requested. The battle angel Michael watched indifferently. Tianganmeh said, "Hurry up." The leader of the Great River Sword Sect, along with the elders and thousands of disciples, knelt down respectfully and shouted, respectfully bidding farewell to our ancestor. The old man, with tears welling in his eyes, nodded with emotion and said, "I will take responsibility for my mistakes. You can focus on protecting the Great River Sword Sect. Although the original Great River Sword Chi is gone, I have recorded my understanding of it throughout my life. You can use it to cultivate, and reaching the Saint Realm will not be a problem." Tianganmeh looked at the old man in astonishment and exclaimed in shock, "Are you a saint?" The old man wiped away his tears of emotion and said, "If I weren't a saint, I wouldn't have been able to retrieve that celestial artifact. Now, let us go. I'll keep the artifact with me. Everything started with me, and it will end with me."